Hello, this is video, like the title says, it's about universal basic income, um, AI revolution, how this affects politics of it, the state superstructure, and potential for political revolution. Now, universal basic income, I wrote notes, it's so uncontroversial in the an AI-inspired economic apocalypse because that would destroy the livelihoods of everyone. So, like I said, there it is the least controversial policy in history in this context, where a huge AI revolution, where you get artificial general intelligence, which means tech that is more better than humans at everything. Whether it's the brain or physical, it can do anything that humans can do infinitely better. Now, that's going to wipe out the middle class. Destroys the livelihoods of everyone. So it's not a question of, for example, imagine someone asking, is universal basic income a benefit to the middle class, or is it a cost? Well, in this context we're discussing here, the AI has wiped out the middle class. There is no middle class. It's gone. See? So in this context, everyone who is like you, me, or some other random person, they're all going to agree that this is needed. If hang on, someone's calling me. Yeah. I'm back. Question about Nicole Kidman of all things. Anyway, yeah, in this context, everyone who was like you, me, or some other random guy or girl would support it, because it's like if your arm's broken, you don't like think, oh, well, I might give it a miss. You need help. You need help. It's that kind of thing. You need this help desperately. Obviously, arm break obviously makes you suffer so much even now. But having no money, no livelihood, you've got that anxiety and stress of knowing unless something happens, this is going to go on forever. So it's similar enough. It's similar enough in the context of being able to put both the arm break, broken arm, and no livelihood in the same bracket of a need for something to happen to change that. And given all the money exiting the economy, right? Yeah, it's another thing. Not reminding me. All that money leaving the economy, it means that in this context where there's an AI apocalypse, there's no issue about inflation, because the money that comes in to give to people is just replacing that money that's gone out. So that replacing is the key word there. This for Brits, remember furlough was the same principle as that, and very similar. Given an apocalypse, an economic apocalypse, it's very similar. And with furlough, you had the online world, so the economy hadn't completely become dead, but it was getting there. So universal basic income is not decided upon by whether it's wanted or not. It's decided upon whether it's needed or not. So in the past, it wasn't needed. So, for example, the middle class, in that question about the middle class to the benefit, in the past that would have been a relevant question, because you could say no. The middle class would say maybe I think it definitely would have said this will cost us a lot. We're paying for it, and we'll be the ones preventing inflation. So they would really cost the middle class in the past. So then UBI's model want, well, the poor people want and need it, but there's a whole chunk of people who don't think it benefits them at all. I think it comes everyone is poor. Everyone's in the same boat. And yeah, sport's an interesting point because I'll come up with a boat analogy again in a minute. So, or we can think of something far away from being a boat because that's to do with water, like a dry, hot desert. Well, then people want water, yeah. And they need water. They don't want it, they need it. So it's not analogous to a want in the sense of I like Coca-Cola. I'm not thirsty, put tons of Coca-Cola in, like the taste. I think I'll have a Coca-Cola. That's just a want. In the desert, you need water. It's a need. And although in our luxury, maybe if you want to put it that way, we might fancy a Coke more than we fancy a water. That's because we're not dying of thirst. And water would just be the most delicious thing ever in a hot desert. And UBIs therefore like the desert and the water. It's not a controversial issue. That's what I'm saying. It's not a controversial issue. People in the desert boiling hot. It's not a controversial issue of wanting water because everyone agrees they all want water. That's what UBI is like, and therefore it's also equivalent to the boat Noah's Ark, the economic apocalypse caused by AI, which does have benefits, of course. If there's a techie here, we said don't forget the benefits, like, but we're talking about the bad side of it here, I suppose, and one of the bad sides. Now, with the Noah's Ark, it's obvious. Everyone needs saving. The Ark saves everyone. UBI is the arc in this context. And I admit, I've made it so it's in the Silicon Valley AI techies world of where they say AI will do everything. It's going to be artificial general intelligence, strong AI, which means way above human intelligence on everything. So it'll do everything. Eventually it'll even do the programming with AIs and so forth. So in that context, universal basic income becomes the income of the people. And if there's ways of scraping bits and bobs elsewhere, then that would be like just a bonus if there's that way. I mean, because if AI is doing everything, then you can't say, oh, top my universal basic income up by walking the dog if AIs are walking the dogs everywhere. Now, you might say, I wouldn't trust my dog with an AI. I mean, I would say that right now. But if we get to a point where we know that AIs are even safer than commercial air flights, then you would. We have that. It's the microwave phenomenon. First, microwave come out. No, look, can't eat that. Radiate you, you'll die. And then you realise that's not true. Yeah, second, everyone thinks, did they really say that back then? They did. Didn't last long. I don't think it didn't last long. I can't remember. Just a tiny little child. Now, this is the thing here, right? Now, I don't like state superstructure, but when I think this through on this, I mean, it's like they're not insane. They're not completely mad, mentally ill. I've said this on another context with UFOs, meaning, and UFOs thinks about the whistleblowers coming out, and Rubio says, are they mentally ill, or is it true? I'm thinking, I can't see them being took out these cars, these people in suits that are whistleblowers, and they've got some big guys, just gently saying, look, into the mental hospital and you get in a section and the TV cameras are there. So I can't see that ever happening. State superstructure, I criticise them like all the time for the divide and rule. It's just a power thing. It's just a selfish thing. They're not thick and they're not mentally ill. They're just power mad, and they're willing to do propaganda and divide and rule. and it's immoral, very immoral. But they're not mentally ill and not fake. And with UBI, um, therefore, they will not go to such a length as to say, I'm going to oppose UBI on all costs because we hate it. Blah 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 blah. We'll take the revolution instead. I can't see that. I think that two reasons. One, this is going to impact them. It's going to impact their families. It's going to impact their closest friends. It's going to impact people they care about very much. Impact themselves. So, and two, they don't want a revolution. Do anything to stave it off. So I don't see that. I admit. And back of Andrew Yang's book, he talks about if nothing was done in this context, and he then paints a picture of a violent revolution. Yeah, fair enough, but it's not going to happen because they'll bring in UBI in that situation. I mean, because the alternative's the end for them. So it's the end for them from the UBI and from the AI, sorry, and it's the end for them because the people are bringing you down. I mean, it couldn't be worse. They'll bring in UBI. They might have tried to buy people off on the cheap. No, that's a threat. That's a threat. That's something they could do through being power mad and immoral, and preserving, wanting some kind of power difference between us and them. But there's a difference between rejecting UBI outright and allowing Britain to be destroyed, AIs to destroy the entire economy, and a revolution ran amok. And you know what I mean? This is not going to let that happen because it'd be on them as well. They take the blame from everyone. It's not going to happen. I did think about it, right? And when I first started thinking about it, I was thinking, would they do that? Might do it. But when I thought it through, I realised how obviously wrong I was for being maybe they will, maybe they won't. I realised I've thought it through, and what you're getting now is my thoughts that have been all nicely come together, having gone through the messy thinking through. I mean, it's like it's like there's a gun at the say there's a human being just symbolises the state superstructure. There's a gun at his head, and then UBI, oh, you're dead. He just goes, kill me, and he's gone. Sort of like that. It's what it's like. It's that obvious that he won't say kill me. So I don't like state superstructure, but they're not going to make it so that they're in a position where people who don't like state superstructure can just bring them down because they're frigging idiots. Not going to just do that. Just think about it. Like they've lasted like 100 and you know what I mean. Do you know what I mean? I'm well trained from 1945 to the present day, and a bit from Victorian even at the present day. I don't know how long back you have to go from when you could talk about something recognisable as a state superstructure in the UK, right? To something vaguely similar, to what we got now. It has some kind of connection, but it's like goes back, to the Victorian era for sure, right? And if they were that frigging stupid, right, to not bring a UBI in on ideological grounds, it would show that they were absolutely stupid all that time. They'd have made these sort of mistakes on a grand scale, and I just don't think that stupid, immoral, power mad, selfish propagandists, pricks, but not mentally ill and not brain dead. It's important. It's important to understand the strengths and weaknesses of those that you don't like, because otherwise you're just talking crap all the time. And you'd think, So for example, if I just held a basic, simple, non-thinking prejudice against the state superstructure, which is different from what it's different from what I'm doing. I claim I'm not doing that. I claim that they are divisive, they are wrong, immoral, and all that. But if I just hold a straightforward basic prejudice where every single box I tick off as them as being, the negative thing, then what would be the problem? You know what I mean? Like they just think, well, they're going to have a revolution next week. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. I'm just checking through my notes now. I admit that I can't remember what I'd be thinking I'd be saying next because I was thinking I'd do it a lot with notes. I've actually said most of the stuff I've said has probably been spontaneous, but a bit of it's been from them. That was the notes were certainly my starting point. Yeah, one of the things I want is to get to a point where we are beyond the state superstructure and we're talking to each other in a cooperative sense. No games, no manipulation, no power, no silly superiority. Just talking and without hiding behind anything else that is powerful. Is some sort of like defender of our ego or something like that. It's just not on. It's not sensible. It's not equal. It's not. You can't think you're talking to that person. You see, you think you're talking to uh, someone else. That's why I think that people who parrot propaganda are victims of the propaganda because no one sells themselves out on purpose. So yeah, I think they're victims. They're victims, but that's still bad for the person talking to them. Still bad for me if I'm talking to this person because then there's no real conversation. I'm just talking to a psychological defense mechanism. That's all I'm doing. I'm speaking to a psychological defense mechanism that's using someone else's ego who I don't even know. So I don't really like it. It's like that's one of the. So I want to get over the state superstructure so that people talk to each other properly. That's all. Not about wanting to beat. You know what I mean? It's just wanting to be honest and genuine and authentic. So when you're talking to someone, say we did this, we got rid of the state superstructure, and yeah, and say quite a few people then thought, I'm not really interested in much to do with these issues. It's fine. That's honest and it's authentic. No one should be. Just like I don't want people blabbing the wrong thing because it's like they're blabbing what isn't them and being brainwashed, just blurting out what their defense from the other guy who they suck up to for some crazy reason. Well, if if they weren't really having an opinion, they were just whatever's being shoved in their head, then it's better to be thinking nothing. I mean, just if on even if it's an important issue, just it's an improvement on to think nothing than it is to be brainwashed. So such a person could then just consume some entertainment. It would be an improvement on being brainwashed. And in other cases, yeah, people would cease to believe in inequality and believe in equality is bound to happen. Mm. One of the things that techies say about the AI, getting back to that, is that right now, not in 5 years. We're 5 years ago, we've been saying maybe it's in about 5 years. Now we're here, right? Now we're in the midst, right now, of 200 or 300 years technological progress in just 5 or 10 years. So that means what that means is, from a 20th century perspective, um, they would have required, what was 203 years tech progress to them is just a few years to us. That is remarkable, and that gets back to why there'll be this huge change where everyone supports UBI, because that puts everyone in the needs category. And a good thing about this, by the way, there's a good thing about this, and that is that it's unifying. So I was saying a minute ago about how there's all this silly power games when people talking to each other. This gets rather across the unity of people, putting everyone in the same Noah's Ark boat. That is a very good thing. Very good thing indeed. So yeah, just on that point I just made there, it's such a good thing. I just love the idea that through the apocalypse of the AI revolution, we finally get to that equality stage where the state superstructure has to a very large extent concede. We just need to be careful, because we need to be careful that it will try and it won't block UBI, but it might try and maintain a gap between the very top few and the rest. Now, see, I'll give an example what I mean here. On the centre left, sometimes an exaggeration about, um, we're for the 99%, they're for the 1%. It's not fair to put it like that. I mean, it is ridiculously unequal. Don't get me wrong, hugely billionaires, and there's people who are homeless, and but it but that 99 and 1% is where AI apocalypse could take us. So could become true, and our top 1% shouldn't be allowed to dictate to the 99%. We have to be careful on that though, because they might try to. So they wouldn't dare, and they wouldn't be able to block UBI. And if it got to 100% all in the same boat, they wouldn't want to even do it anyway. And we also have to be careful though, that if the AI revolution just keep, I don't think politicians will be safe from it. I think it's more likely to be the people who are the masterminds behind the AIs, if you know what I mean. The programmers are them, but then the AIs will eventually do the programming. So, but yeah, the state has to go, and in the sense of the state superstructure, and we can all have equality then. Like I said, the Noah's Ark is an outstanding analogy. I mean, all in it together or what? It would change the legacy news media if they're still around, the traditional news media if they're still around. So I kind of hope it happens. Because we've lived in a propagandized Orwellian state for too long. Too long. It's just so, like you said. Well, why wouldn't you prefer if there was no AI apocalypse, Paul? Wouldn't you prefer that? We live in a Orwellian propagandized state superstructure, so actually, I want it. I'm not biasing it, but I think that techies are being proven true. I think they've been proven true practically. We're saying this 20 years ago. This would be happening now in the mid 2020s, and it's just exploded in the last year. For me, I could see it in the last year. Others might say, "Oh, exploded for me in 2020 or whatever." So okay, whenever you see it, but I saw it with the intelligence of AIs online, their ability to talk to you, and their ability to come off as another human. The Turing test passes it for me. I mean, I give the example of the chat you had about soccer with them, but I've had other chats, and they're all really good. I think I used the soccer example because it was the longest chat. So yeah, conclusion is quality Noah's Ark. Please, gotta be there now. Get away from the Orwellian, utter, utter mind destroying, shocking, abusive, vile, immoral, corrupt, divide and rule, propagandist nonsense that we've had to live through. That is for the benefit of those who dish it out and not for the benefit of anyone else. I think we had a lucky 1945 when Britain got something like the NHS and the welfare state in America, because I think these weren't quite as much affected by the World War II as we were in Britain. I don't think they've ever had anything. The state never cared for them a jot ever. Well, it's done some important things, civil rights, but you know what I mean. It hasn't begun to care for their citizens in terms of money, which means that millions of Americans just rot. And Britain's similar to America, we're just a step above them. We need to get away from this propagandist, horrible state. And if AI can do its business shit all over the state, then this is our chance. This is our chance. It's our chance to all become together. Now, so it kind of like has to hurt the propagandists themselves so that they see that they are the same as us, not bloody well better. This is what we need. We need that to happen. We need that to happen. Because I don't want our side. You know, if there's some revolution and some people who agree with stuff I say took over the offices of the BBC and Sky and all that, and the papers, I would think, get them by the collar and get them physically out. I'd treat my own side worse, actually, because I think they're an embarrassment, they're a disgrace, and they've got nothing to do with us. So I'd actually, it's ironic, I'm not really advocating treating the opposition like that, but I advocate treating my own like that. That's because if I suppose my side did that sort of thing, it wouldn't be my side anyway. And two, it would mean that there's no hope. And all bloody well power crazy. Now, what has to happen is an end to all that. So we need to set a better example. But that's not the main thing, even. I think the main thing is this natural revolution brought about by AI. Bring it on. The sooner the better. That's the end of the video.